Hey everyone, today I want to talk about the 4th edition adventure, the Cairn of the Winter King. This adventure module came with the Monster Vault, which was part of the 4th edition Essentials release. It's for 4th level characters and could probably be completed in one session or maybe two at most. It's set in the Nintervale. The story is that a half-elf arrives in Fallcrest having stolen an ice scepter from the Winter King. The Winter King is not happy about this and wants it back. You get a little bit of a synopsis of the story, and then you jump right into some possible adventure hooks for the characters. I like that these adventure hooks really tie the characters to the setting, so it's not just random things to bring people into the adventure, but it actually could make them part of the setting and the NPCs with different relationships. And then we get into the opening scene of the story, which is a role-playing encounter that allows the party to make their way into the town and get the first hints that there's something unusual going on. It's the middle of summer, but there's this winter storm that seems to be approaching. So there's a lot of opportunities here to talk to the key NPCs. And then it segues into the inciting incident. And that is this first encounter called the Skyraiders. With this encounter, the characters notice a ship that is floating and moving through the sky towards them. It appears to be a road ship, not a sailing ship. There's a big production about it arriving, and then the undead occupants of the ship get off and run into the town, and the ship itself is actually talking. The only issue I have with this encounter is that it's really set up as a combat encounter the way that you lay it out. The players will likely think that it's supposed to be combat, and they might just start attacking. But in reality, it's a role-playing encounter. The boat arrives, and it's this magical boat that starts asking just this one question of who has the scepter. And if they answer yes, then they're invited to board the boat. If they answer no, then the ship attacks them. And there's really no rush to board the boat. Even if you answer yes, you can go do other stuff. It's more just kind of setting up that one thing about here's a boat to take you to this other place. But it very easily could be confused with a combat encounter. And even as a DM, you can see you've got a lot of monster blocks here. And so it could be a little bit confusing, but it's really just the setup to kind of introduce this boat that can take you up to the Winter King, basically. And then once that you've done that, then you deal with the aftermath. And this is more role-playing now. Now you go into the town, and the town has realized that the ship is there, and they're looking for the scepter. And so you can go talk to other people in the town and try to get more information. You might notice one person trying to sneak away, and that is this Marco Lancet character. He's the one who stole the scepter. And then the warden of the town asks the party to please go with the ship and help bring an end to this winter. And the next part of the adventure is actually titled Sailing the Stormy Skies, but this is not a sailing ship. It is a rowed ship, and the party is expected to row and keep the ship moving. So there's several different encounters that occur here. It's kind of like a skill challenge. It's a little better than that, though, because it's not just random skills. It's actually specific events that happen that you have to work your way through. So I would definitely recommend more playing this as an opportunity for characters to use their creativity to solve some of these problems, as opposed to trying to run it as a specific skill challenge. And then you arrive at the cairn, and there's some role playing that's done as you first arrive and are welcomed into this hall. And there is a warrior who claims to be the Winter King, and he asks for the scepter. This is actually just a trap. This person is not the Winter King. They're setting this up because they want to try to get the scepter and impress the Winter King to earn favor with them. It is likely a combat encounter. It starts out as role-playing and then will turn into combat. So it's actually pretty nice encounter, set up pretty well for the players to have to try to determine that this is really a trap and that they're not actually talking to the Winter King. There's several things in here that are clues to help them figure that out. And then eventually it turns into a combat encounter. And then we get into the dungeon crawl portion of the adventure. And so the next couple pages are going to set up the overview of all the different locations that you have in this dungeon. And so you get some flavor text as well as the things that the characters might see and what treasures there might be there. Just good overview to set it up as a DM as you're preparing it. And then the following pages will take you through each individual encounter and how to set them up and what they look like. There's multiple paths that the party could take through this dungeon, and so as they encounter different things, they might decide to change their route along the way. As much as the first part of this adventure was role-playing, this one is really heavy on combat, but not really in a railroady way, since there are opportunities for them to take what happens in a particular encounter and choose a different route, or they could avoid the combat entirely if they get creative. So I like the way that this one is set out. It's definitely not a railroad. They do maintain that autonomy at all times to decide what they want to do. So working through, there's just several different combat encounters and some traps and some ambushes. And eventually they find their way into the throne room where the Winter King is setting up shop. They can either get there on their own, or if they are captured along the way, they might be brought there by the guards. I like that while this is a combat encounter, there's also a skill challenge that's built into it that allows the party to try and negotiate with the Winter King even as the fight is going on. So I think that's a really nice touch. And then the last encounter in the book is actually a random encounter that the DM can place anywhere in the dungeon as the party is exploring. Another nice touch, so something else that you can do during the dungeon crawl. After defeating the Winter King, then the winter begins to melt and the magic ship is able to take you back to Fallcrest before its magic fades away. And then there's some details in here that you can use to roleplay your return into the town. And the final page is a full view of the map of the dungeon that you're going to be crawling. I really enjoyed this module. It's only 32 pages, but it does cover a lot and it doesn't feel rushed at all. The role playing up front really allows the characters to get involved in the story before setting out on the actual quest. I liked the trap when they first arrive at the Cairn and there's a person pretending to be the Winter King and is trying to get the scepter from them. I think that's a great opportunity for role playing for characters. And, you know, it really goes against the notion that you hear people talk about how 4th edition was just nothing but combat, combat, combat. But there's a lot of opportunities in here for role playing and nothing says that you have to do combat all the time. But overall, it's one I've had in my collection for a long time and have not really looked through it, but I think it's really great. But let me know your thoughts. Have you played it? Have you run it? Let me know in the comments. Subscribe to the channel. Until next time, take care.